back to another video. Today I want to talk about a budget setup. This is a comparatively low priced setup. When you look at things like the the modern point and shoot craze, where people are spending hundreds for these old and frankly quite crap point and shoot cameras just to get that particular aesthetic, this is a setup that's going to get you into photography properly, interchangeable lenses, and you're going to be paying about the same amount of money. Now recently I've had a couple of conversations specifically from people wanting to make that step up from bridge cameras. Now I know bridge cameras have those tremendous zooms and that is a benefit in and of itself, but beyond that they are quite restrictive because obviously smaller sensors, not so great in low light and so on and so on. This setup is an interchangeable lens system. It's not new, but it is going to cover you from the wide angle stuff to the telephoto stuff and a little bit of tasty portrait stuff right in the middle there. And it costs about £250-ish, probably a bit less. Let's have a look in the bag. Right, so the camera in question today is this beautiful little Canon 550D. This is an APS-C camera with 18 megapixels. It'll do 1080 video and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go through the specs because there's not really much point, but these sensors are really, really nice. And on here I've got a 50mm f1.8, the Mark II, not the STM one with the metal mount. This is just a plastic one. I got this for about £50. It is very cheap, as was the camera. I picked this up recently for £55, and as you can see, there is not really a mark on it. It is absolutely spot on, so very happy with that one. And keep your eyes open for these because these are very, very good cameras. Next up we have the old faithful 18 to 55 crappy kit lens, plastic mount and all that business, but these are surprisingly useful lenses, especially when you're just starting out. It's going to get you into that wide angle and obviously that sort of short telephoto range with a single lens, great for street and such as that. And then finally we have got this big beast. This is the Sigma 70 to 300. This is one of those that has the 2:1 macro function on it. You go to 200mm, flick the switch into macro mode, and then you can get a little bit closer to your subject with that. But also 300mm on an APS-C, especially a Canon APS-C, because it's going to give you something like about 460, 480 millimeters, something like that. So it's a hell of a lot of reach. So if you wanted to do wildlife or possibly sports, this is the type of thing that'll get you started. Alright, so that's what's in the bag. That's what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to try and get photos with all of these lenses to give you at least a couple of examples. And I already have a couple of shots in mind. I've been here a number of times. This is the Far Ings Nature Reserve, just on the south bank of the Humber, very close to where I live. I'm here with Lee and we're hopefully going to find some nice stuff because the light has just started to break through. Alright, so let's get started with the photos. First ones are going to be with the Sigma 70 to 300. Got this nice scene behind me, bit of water there, some timbers in the water, some birds on there, and then just over here you can see the south tower of the bridge and a bit of a reflection. It's not a clean reflection, the water's a bit choppy, but it's good enough. And then just a little bit further that way is an old knackered building, tiles off the roof, but I think it's like a nice contrasting shot because you've got the lake in the front and the greenery, and then that building which is somewhat falling to bits just in the background. So let's use this and let's see if we can get those shots. Right, so I'm finding there's a few different ways you can shoot this. Obviously with the 70 to 300 you've got a lot of zooming potential, so you can go all the way out to 70mm, which isn't wide on an APS-C camera by any means, but it is going to give you a little bit more of the scene, a little bit more option to add some depth with these foreground elements like the tree branches and the grasses and stuff. So we'll take that shot. And then again you can punch right into 300 and hopefully get some of those birds when they come back on top of the timbers, and that might be nice as well. And again 300 is going to add a lot of compression to your image and yeah, get you right in there, that kind of thing. So I thought this was a good opportunity to try this 18 to 55 kit lens. This is giving you something around a 28 to about 80-ish full frame equivalent. It's a nice wide range, but as you can see behind me, that sky is quite nice and moody. So what I'm going to do is it's somewhat of a look-up shot on that telegraph pole or whatever it is, and try and force that into like kind of like a silhouette with that moody sky behind it. But then I'm going to go wide as well, step back and get a lot of this buddleia with that purple in the foreground as well, or at least at the bottom third of the image. And then I've also taken another shot with this branch up here to use as a kind of a frame, add a little bit of depth. But yeah, this is a very flexible lens. British summertime, man. Can't beat it. Now you've got to understand that you're not going to be getting the same lens quality as what you would get in L glass, because if you did, L glass wouldn't exist, would it? But these are absolutely good enough if you're just getting into the game, making that step up from a phone or from a point and shoot camera or something like that. All of these lenses combined with the bigger sensor and the more capable camera body is going to give you the opportunity to get much better images. Right, so the rain's coming back, and neither the ZV-1 nor this 550D are weather sealed, so I'm going to jump in that hide that is behind you, and fingers crossed, perhaps get some wildlife type shots. So as you may have deduced from that little bit of B-roll, it rained, and then it rained some more. So I didn't really get much more in the way of filming done. I did, however, get more pictures, and I've also found some pictures from when the first time I had this camera back in, I don't know, 2018-ish, something like that. So I'm going to show you all them as well in a minute. But I wanted to talk about the 550D in 2025. So from a photography point of view, it holds up great. 18 megapixels, APS-C sensor, enough dynamic range, nice colors. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this camera from a basic photography point of view. However, a few caveats: it doesn't have fast burst rate. I think on the paper it's something like 3.2 frames per second, which is hardly what you would expect for something like wildlife or sports. So not the best for that. Although there are pictures that I've got like this one where, you know, it's doable, but you have to be patient. You have to sort of be prepared to wait around and probably get, like I did, a dozen crap shots to get this one all right shot. Everyday shooting, absolutely perfect. You can shoot street with this all day long. It is fantastic. Stick a 50 on this, as I do with the 400D, and it's just an absolute joy to use. The added bonus with this one over the 400D though is it does have that live view. So if you are someone who likes to see the screen and shoot and compose that way, this camera will allow you to do that. Okay, so just to summarize, is the Canon 550D worth buying in 2025? Well, that very much depends on what it is you're expecting from a camera like this. If you want something that's very basic, will take nice pictures, has enough resolution, has a little bit of video functionality with the 1080p in there. It'll be a nice walk around camera and nice for landscape type stuff, but it's not going to give you any of the fancy features that you can see in modern cameras, and even not so modern mirrorless cameras. A lot of the early Lumix cameras had things like stabilization, flip out screens, good video specs, etc. You're not getting that with the Canon 550D. Alright, so that's the Canon 550D in 2025. Definitely worth considering if you can find it for the right price. So, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider hitting that like button and subscribing if you're not already. It just tells YouTube that, you know, people like these videos, shares it to more like-minded people, and also makes me smile.